Pokemon Sword and Shield are better than Pokemon Black and White. That is my genuine opinion. And before you slam this video with a dislike and leave an angry comment, allow me to explain. So back when I was 5, I was really into Pokemon. I had one of those DS flash carts with hundreds of games loaded onto it as a kid. Pokemon Platinum was one of them, and I absolutely adored it. I ended up beating Pokemon Heart Gold, Pokemon Black, and Pokemon White 2 as well. But as I grew older, these games became harder and harder to go back to. I would try multiple times to replay White 2, my favorite in the series, but each time I'd play up to the first gym and immediately drop the game. Eventually, Pokemon Sword and Shield were close to release and I thought, why not? I'll give it a shot. And I recorded a Let's Play of the game. On my first playthrough, Sword and Shield were pretty much exactly what I expected they'd be. An average RPG with a boring, simple battle system. But during quarantine, I decided to give the game another try. And this time, something clicked inside me. Hey, this game's kinda fun. When I first realized I wasn't enjoying Pokemon, I decided that I guess I just don't like turn-based RPGs. Then I played Octopath Traveler and I really liked it. After that, I was like, okay, so like turn-based RPGs are cool, but monster collecting RPGs aren't really for me. Then I played Persona and I had fun. Eventually I was faced with the realization that maybe Pokemon itself is the problem. So before we talk about why I enjoyed Pokemon Sword, I should probably talk about why the older games don't really click with me. First off, the battle system. You can only have one Pokemon fighting at a time, compared to most RPGs letting you control 4 characters at once. Pokemon can also only learn 4 moves at any one time. This sucks. In your average RPG, you're controlling 4 characters at the same time, and they each have a bunch of skills, basic attack and defense and commands, and so on. Even though Pokemon has way more moves than most RPGs, it doesn't feel as fun or varied because you'll likely only see 4 of them in any given battle. Also, quick side note, rotation battles were so good, they should have just made that the battle system. Why did they remove rotation battles after like 2 games? Now, problem number 1 wouldn't really be a problem if you could switch Pokemon out, and hey, there's an option in battle for it. But here's problem number 2. Switching out Pokemon feels really sluggish. Now, in the Persona series in Shin Megami Tensei, you can swap out your demon anytime without taking up a turn, so there's no real penalty for deciding to change your move setup. But in Pokemon, switching up uses your whole turn, letting your enemy get a free hit in. If you're in a battle, would you rather wait through the animation of the Pokemon switching in and then the enemy Pokemon's attack, or would you rather just press the one-shot enemy Pokemon button? Speaking of, problem 3, the games are piss easy. I mean, yeah, duh, it's a game for kids, of course I'm gonna find it easy. And I agree, I'm not one of those people that say like, oh, this thing is intended for children. No, it's not. The devs should cater to what I want. Professor Oak should die in the next game. But the problem is that the games are so easy that you barely have to actually think about the mechanics that the game wants you to use. 5-year-old me was able to beat every single Pokemon game I've ever played using this one strategy. Step 1, pick a starter. Step 2, catch 5 Pokemon as soon as you can. Step 3, buy a bunch of revives. Step 4, spam your starter's most powerful move. Step 5, if your starter dies, send out one of the other Pokemon, revive your starter, and then switch back. Step 6, repeat this for about 30 hours and then you win the game with no thinking required. People like to complain about Pokemon getting too easy nowadays, but this has been a problem since the Game Boy games. The games have gotten a little easier, thanks to all of the quality of life features added in newer games, but the games were already so easy that they don't substantially affect the difficulty. Like, sure, the games aren't balanced around the new experience share, but they were never balanced to begin with. Wait, most of the criticisms you raised about the series also apply to Sword and Shield. Why do you like this one and not the other ones? That's true, I didn't really enjoy Sword on my first playthrough, but on my second playthrough, I used a certain feature. I wouldn't say it fixes all of the problems I have with Pokemon as a whole, but it at least puts a large enough band-aid over the problems for me to ignore them. And that feature is the box link. At first glance, it doesn't really seem like much. It lets you access the PC from anywhere. Does it really affect the gameplay that much? Yes. Sword and Shield were the only games that made me want to complete the Pokédex. In a series with the tagline, "Gotta catch 'em all," it took until the 8th games to make me want to catch more than 6. Earlier I complained about a lack of variety in the gameplay because even though there are like 5 billion Pokemon, you'll only ever use 6 in one playthrough. But with the box link, you can catch every single Pokemon you see, and if a team's getting boring, just swap out some Pokemon with the box, baby. You go from building one team over 25 hours to building as many teams as you want. About to fight a gym? Build a team of Pokemon with a type advantage. Battle's getting too easy? Just swap in some under-leveled Pokemon. You getting bored of a team? Toss them out and try something else. This new playstyle, like, really breathed new life into the games for me, and maybe it'll help you out too. As for the story, okay, yeah, the story's not great. There are two main ways Pokemon games tell their stories. Gen 1, 2, and 3 tell their stories mostly through subtext. They focus on their characters and don't spend much time on anything else. Gen 4, 5, and 7 focus more on big set pieces and high-budget cutscenes, and as a result have higher stakes and a more fleshed-out plot. I feel like Gen 6 and 8 try to use both of these methods of storytelling at the same time and fall pretty flat as a result. They don't get to be as fast-paced as the first method, but they also don't have the time to flesh out their story as much as the second method. Sword and Shield did have a lot of cool ideas, but they're barely developed. For example, Chairman Rose is the main villain of the game, and he wants to save the region from an energy crisis 1,000 years away, even though this could put the people living there in danger. The plot tries to make Rose a sympathetic villain, like, damn, he was just trying to help. But it falls completely flat because the region just does not need help. 1,000 years is an insanely long time. Like, 1,000 years ago, Europe was still in the Middle Ages. The stakes here are so hilariously low that there is absolutely no justification for what Rose tries to do. If Galar was, like, currently in an energy crisis, then his actions would make sense. But right now, as the story is, they don't. I don't want to claim the story is all bad. Like, there are some good moments. Hop's a pretty great character. The localization's pretty solid. That's about all the plot has going for it. The region design of the games is cleanly split into two halves. Layout-focused regions and design-focused regions. Layout-focused regions look kinda boring, but they have these really interesting map layouts. Like, they kinda feel like Metroidvanias, almost? Not really, though. Design-focused regions have a lot of massive, beautiful towns, and are usually themed around a specific country instead of the layout-focused regions, which are all based on Japan. Unfortunately, their layouts are kinda boring. Sword and Shield fit cleanly in the design-focused category. Look at this region, it looks even nicer than the country it's based on, but, layout-wise, you kinda just, you go in a straight line. It's really down to personal preference which style you prefer, but I think I lean slightly more towards design-focused. Okay, look, I know the graphics look like an early PS3 game that didn't age that well, but I think the towns look pretty, and if you play the game in handheld mode, the low resolution is less noticeable. Also, I don't know where to put this, but the character customization in this game is pretty cool. I thought the feature wasn't really for me on my first playthrough, but it turns out I was just playing as the wrong gender. Like, look at this, you can wear white Vans in this game. Now, this is the main criticism levied against this game, and you know what? I completely agree with it. I don't want this to be my favorite game in the series, but I'm being held hostage by the box link. The second those Gen 4 remakes come out, they're gonna be my new favorites. Please keep Game Freak, please keep the Battle Frontier in this time. I guess, actually, Game Freak's not the one making Gen 4 remakes. Whatever company's making the Gen 4 remakes, keep the Battle Frontier in, don't remove it. So, side note, but if we're including ROM hacks, then my actual favorite game in the series is Volt White 2 with a use PC Anywhere cheat active. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, they removed half of the Pokemon from the game. To be honest, it didn't really affect my experience. I mean, you haven't been able to catch every single Pokemon in one game since Gen 3, but it still sucks that they just removed content for no real reason. And if you're one of those people who, like, transfer your Pokemon from, like, the past game, that's also not great. You have to, like, buy the new Pokemon Cloud service or something. There's also been a lot less post-game content in a lot of the newer entries. I don't think this is, like, a new controversial take or anything, but I think the solution to these problems is to not do yearly releases. Now, obviously, Game Freak can't do that because Pokemon's a big billion-dollar franchise, and they don't want to hold back stuff like the card game and the anime by delaying their games. But I mean, they should still delay the games. So, do I think this game isn't as bad as its reputation suggests? Yeah. Do I think people who initially passed on it should give it another shot? Sure, if they want. But do I think the games are worth the same price as Breath of the Wild? No, they're not. They're not worth $60. Don't spend $60 on these games. But if you can find a used copy, or pirate the game, you might just have a good time. I give Pokemon Sword and Shield a 4 out of 5.